Okay, for this quick take of the Real Estate Law Podcast, we're talking about short-term rental co-hosting. What is that? You'll hear it in this episode. Dave Stokley, Mark Vondrak, my good friends who run Host Pros, which is a company based out in Cleveland, Ohio. They service Cleveland and the area about an hour or two perimeter outside of Cleveland for all the vacation rentals out there. They have over 60 units under management. They're doing a fantastic job. They launched this business just a couple years ago when they met at a real estate meetup, partnered up. They're around the same age, kind of had the same goals, and wanted to do business together. And that's often how a lot of these things start. I ran into them at the Bigger Pockets conference a couple years ago, and I ran into them the last night. And I was like, man, I wish I'd talked to you guys the other days. I didn't even know that you guys were here. But we had a really great conversation that last day, and we stayed in touch. And then I've run into them at a couple other conferences over the years. So I definitely consider them friends at this point. Really good guys, really smart. And in this clip, they talk about how they started their business, why they started it, what co-hosting means to them, and why they're really choosing to service the market that they're servicing, which is Cleveland, Ohio. So I brought my Chief Wahoo glass. I realized that they're no longer the mascot of the Indians because the Indians are not even a team anymore. It's the Cleveland Guardians. But Dave is a huge baseball fan. I see him posting on social media all the time about all his travels going to different baseball stadiums. He's a huge Guardians fan / Indians fan. So he deserves this mug. I should probably send this to him after I finish recording this. So Dave, you might be getting a gift. Here's the episode.
And from there, honestly, it's just grown like crazy. We're up to about 60 units right now. We own 11 of those, I think. And we've got 4 full-time employees and, a dozen cleaners and a bunch of other handymen and service people that we work with. That's the short version.
Before we go too far down the STR road, for those of us that are familiar with it, could you just clarify? I know you're describing it somewhat, but could you just clarify what co-hosting means? Because it's a term I think that we're going to be using a lot through the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, for us, co-hosting means, in our case, we do everything. So the properties are listed on our Airbnb profile. We do all the guest communication, check-in, check-out, restocking supplies, coordinating maintenance, snow removal, landscaping. Our goal is to do everything for our clients. But basically, I guess what it means in a nutshell is someone else owns the property and we do all the work for a percentage of the income. So the reason we like that business model when we were getting started is because there's basically no overhead and no risk for us, only upside for us. That's how we started to think about it, at least.
It sounds like you did this with some level of intention. I feel like a lot of people fall into co-hosting unintentionally, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, we were, at the time, friends and family were asking us about this and curious about it. But yeah, it was always very intentional, I think, to at least see what was out there. Any business kind of starts with like, let's take on a couple clients and see how it goes and see if there's potential. We didn't know what the margins were going to be. We didn't know if it was a financially viable business. This was 2019. There was certainly nobody in Cleveland doing it. I think bigger markets, Florida, California, maybe had people doing co-hosting, but there's nobody doing it in Cleveland. And so we started out charging 15%. We're now charging 25%. A lot of other things have changed too. So.
Yeah. I mean, it just shows you that first mover advantage is real in a business like this and in lots of businesses. But if nobody else is doing it and there was a need, you guys filled that hole, and now you have competitors, I'm sure, but you have a lead on them by having done it for so long. So let me ask this question to Mark. I've seen you guys together, and I think I know the answer to this question, but how would you say that you complement one another so you're not stepping on one another's toes and you each kind of have your own lane of what you're good at?
Yeah, that's a really good and important question when you're working with a business partner. I mean, I guess in any relationship, it's good to know your strengths and the other person's strengths and the other person's weaknesses. So, we both have quite different personalities, and quite different things that we enjoy doing. So I don't know if you're familiar with the book Traction, but they talk about the integrator and the visionary. So we're like a perfect example of that. So Dave is definitely the visionary. He's the guy coming up with all the ideas. Like if we're hanging out or doing something, he's got 15, 20 different business ideas that some of our are pretty nuts. But one or two of them are good. So, I mean, and that's all you need. It's just like, you know, so my job is kind of just let them get all of that out, just like get it out, because there's going to be one good one. So like, he's definitely the visionary, and, you know, I'm the integrator, between the two of us. So from Dave bringing all the ideas, then I say, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. Here's what we need to do to make it happen. Here's a timeline. Here's a budget. Here's a plan. Here's what we need to do to implement this into our business. And so, yeah, we've followed that pretty religiously, you know, just really sticking to, you know, what we're good at and staying kind of within those lines. Not to say that I don't have any ideas, and not to say that Dave can't implement or integrate, you know, there, but, you know, for the vast majority of things, that's kind of how it goes.
Like when you think of an idea, Dave's like, you're not the idea guy. You don't have any ideas. Just do this. Talk a bit about trust and when did you guys realize that you trusted each other to form this company? Because I know that people that are listening to this are looking for lots of different ways to grow their real estate businesses or their investment businesses. And, you know, a lot of that involves trusting somebody else, either with their money or with their time or with their partnership.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We probably rushed into it, but, you know, we became friends. Well, you know, I think we immediately connected because right around the time that we met, we'd both bought our first investment properties. And so we just started talking about goals and visions for our future and our lifestyle and stuff. And we were very aligned in terms of that. And so, you know, we bought this property together and put a lot of money into it together. And that was probably risky, but we'd known each other for like a year and a half. So that's, you know, longer than a lot of people know each other before they get married these days. My wife is really into Love is Blind right now. I don't know if anyone else is watching that.
Yeah.
But,
Oh my God. Seriously?
I just think it's ridiculous, of course. I mean, not saying that she's really bought into it, but like, I don't know. So yeah, we knew each other for 18 months, and I think it's really important to have at least other people that you can work together with and bounce ideas off. For me, obviously, as an idea person, and nobody can do it all themselves, right? So, you know, even if you're a solopreneur, at some point, if you want to grow to a certain point, you're going to have to trust people in some way, whether it's hiring employees or taking on a business partner or investors. It's funny, I was talking to a successful businesswoman last week and telling her a little about our company and investment strategy, and she's like, ooh, business partners. Like, I would never partner with anyone on any business. I'm like, that's the whole reason we're here, right? Because, you know, because we have the complementary skills to get us here. So, I mean, some people can do it on their own. That's great, but you know, if you want to accomplish great things, you need other people. You know, being business partner is just one way of doing that. So,
aside from just partners, I think you need to build out a team beyond just the partnership that can really get things done. And I'm going to take a guess here and stop me if I'm wrong, but when you first started the business, I imagine you were involved very intimately day to day with everything that was going on. And over time, you found ways to delegate the routine responsibilities and to build systems instead of doing it all yourselves. But that I'm always fascinated by that process where people extricate themselves from the day-to-day and then start to work on higher and higher level things. Could you talk about how that process looked for your company? And if my guess is wrong, just tell me that.
Yeah. So you're right. Yeah, we're pretty involved from the beginning. However, I think like we were pretty intentional from the beginning, even when we just had a first handful of units, that we knew long term we didn't want to be totally in the weeds and totally in the day-to-day, that we wanted to scale this, that we wanted to be able to focus on the higher level things from the beginning. So we did do a lot of the stuff, but you know, from the beginning we hired cleaners to help us because we knew we are not good cleaners. So we're not clean. We really didn't clean much at the beginning, but yeah, you know, as we started building up and getting going, we kept recognizing, okay, like, all right, we need help here. So like, how do we get ourselves out of this, and what is the best organizational structure to manage these kind of tasks or things we have to do. And I think we've tried to look like further ahead than where we're right at. So we say, like, at the beginning, okay, we have two units, but what happens when we have 10? And we try to build those systems, and we started using like system like Guesty from very early, even when we had like 2 or 3 units, and using their automated messaging and using the channel manager there, just because we knew that if we started it early, it'll help us to grow and get to 10 units, 15, 20, 30. And rather than, okay, let's do everything manually from the beginning, and then when we get to 20 units, we can use the SD. And so we're pretty intentional from the beginning that, let's use some automation, let's use some technology, let's outsource things that we're not good at, and be willing to pay for those things, like handy people, cleaning people, the snow removal, landscaping, like, hey, there's people that are a lot better than us at some of that stuff and can take it off our plate so that we can focus on building the business.
All right, there's another quick take with the Real Estate Law Podcast. For the full episode, go to YouTube or Spotify or iTunes or wherever you heard or listened to that quick take. We also have all of our episodes posted at realestatelawpodcast.com. So on behalf of Rory Gill, I'm Jason Muth, one of your hosts, and we thank you for listening.